Now, joining me via Zoom is a virologist at the Global Health Department, School of Public Health at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and leader at the Global Health Center at KCCR, Dr. John Amoesi. Good evening to you, Doc. Does this come to you as a worry that many people are beginning to get tired of wearing nose masks?
No, good evening, Asha, and also to your listeners. I must point out, though, that I'm not a virologist. I am a medical doctor, and then I do also research, global health research. But to go straight to your point regarding the nose masks, it's a really important observation you have made that people are tired, and people are not tired necessarily of wearing nose masks, but I'm tired of the entire corona pandemic. People feel that they've had enough of it. But the thing is, it's not about how we feel, but about the reality on the ground. And the way we feel sometimes gives us what we call a false sense of security. So people are letting down their guard. And we're seeing this not only among the general population, but even among health professionals. Health professionals can get tired of doing the right things all the time. And it sometimes can lead to trouble. It is also very informative that just last week, towards the end of last week, the WHO officially changed its position regarding nose masks. Hitherto, the WHO was a bit ambivalent about nose masks, but now has categorically indicated that nose masks can have some protective effect and ultimately can reduce the rate of transmission. And so one would definitely not possible because people are tired. So what that means is we need to find a way of reinvigorating the population, of making people aware that the threat is continuous, there is no change in this threat, and there's a need for us to be increasingly vigilant. You know, how do you do this without alarming people? How do you do this without increasing stigma? And these are all questions that we need to ask ourselves. But the threat is real, and it's nowhere from less. At least it is definitely not less of a threat than it was before.
But how also does it come across to you that people still don't believe COVID-19 exists? Where did we go wrong on this?
Well, Asha, it does not come to me as a surprise, because right from history, if you look at history, you will always have denialists. And the interesting thing is that denialists do not only exist among people who you may consider illiterate or uneducated, but you can have some really highly placed individuals who might be denialists. I remember when the talk of a vaccine for COVID-19 started, there was some kind of arson in our neighboring country, La Côte d'Ivoire, of a testing center because people thought it was going to be a vaccination center. I remember the theories around 5G and other theories which were put forward by others, and these were otherwise well-read, well-educated, and highly placed persons. So it should not come as a surprise that some people do not believe that coronavirus is real. This is not limited to Ghana, not limited to Africa, definitely not limited to our part of the world alone, but even in what some would call advanced economies in the West, in Europe and North America, you again have highly placed people, well-educated people who have opinions that are completely antithetical to science regarding this coronavirus. So what that means is that we have a duty, and this is why I do not hesitate to come on your show when you call me, even though it does take a toll, to speak and to remind people that this is real. I have had the opportunity to see people who have had COVID from my own eye, but with my own eyes. So I have at least a visual to put to it. But it shouldn't be surprising that people are in denial. It should rather inform us as to the strategies that we need to adopt to make sure that education really filters up and down.
There are those who feel, and of course there are virologists who are leading this fight, who feel that we're only providing so much information for people, but we're not really educating the people. What's your stance on this?
No, I think you make a great point, and where I'll come in is this kind of disease, particularly a pandemic, a global one for that nature, requires a multidisciplinary or a transdisciplinary approach to addressing. It definitely is not left for virologists to address. You would have your public health people, you would have your medical people, and you'd have your sociologists, you'd have your anthropologists, you'd have your psychologists. I can tell you on authority that the fight against Ebola in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone was won not necessarily directly by medical people and virologists and so on, but by the sociologists and the social anthropologists who went into the villages, helping people to understand the reality of Ebola in their own local setting. Because I heard one of the people being interviewed on the street saying that he does not know anyone, has not seen anyone with COVID, and so he doesn't believe it's real. I can tell you that seeing people with COVID, even having a brother who has, or sister who may have had COVID, will not necessarily do the trick. It's not about showing the face of people who have COVID. It goes beyond that. Because in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, people were dying around people, and people still did not believe that Ebola was real.
Should we change our approach, Doc?
This multidisciplinary approach.
Should we change our approach? It's obvious probably our approach is not working.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not working, Aisha. In fact, I can tell you again on authority that all these disciplines have been engaged extensively in this fight against COVID-19. What happens is, and again, this is one of the theories in sociology. I'm not a sociologist myself, but I did a bit of that, and it's something we call the diffusion of innovations theory. This is not an innovation per se, but it just tells you that with every introduction of an intervention, it will take some time for it to become accepted as mainstream. You'd always have a group of people who will be early adopters who take it up very quickly, and you'd have others who we call the laggards, and who will take it up very, very slowly. And so what you realize has been done is you've got people who are champions, okay, people who can be identified in society, sports personalities, political actors, people in the arts and entertainment industry who are all being enrolled to push this fight forward. What we need to do is to push this further into our local communities and give people a very personal understanding of COVID that goes beyond theory into something they can identify with within their own local situation. And it's a tightrope to walk doing this without unnecessarily alarming your population. But I can tell you that this is underway. I'm hopeful that it won't be long when we would have better outputs. But the longer this fight lasts, and this is where the challenge is, the temporal variable in there, the longer it lasts, the more difficult it becomes to sustain action, both in terms of educating people and getting people to comply with what is recommended.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. John Amoisi is a public health expert with the KNUST and also with the KCCR.